Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
We've got more of an audience than we usually do.
I love it.
There's a seating area.
I love it.
Over there.
Some people just like to watch. Some people like to listen.
You've got the freaks behind the curtain listening, and the freaks over there watching.
But they're not. They're doing it separately. The people listening aren't watching, and the people watching aren't listening.
No.
Laura and Joel are like this.
They've got ear defenders on.
You need it to listen to this podcast.
Absolutely. It's better, actually, if you can't hear what we say.
Yeah, I just like to look at you.
Yeah. I've not listened to you once in this entire endeavour.
May I say what a brilliant outfit you're wearing today.
Thank you. May I also compliment you on your outfit?
If we stand up, can you see us in the wide?
Yeah. We're both, for listeners, we're both wearing blue t-shirts and corduroy shorts, which was not planned.
Would we call this? I would say that's more of a mauve or a purple, Ed.
It's on the
Well, you can
blue
call
end
it,
of the
you
spectrum.
can call it blue.
I also really don't. I have a really bad gauge for what colours are. It turns out.
Every day, with every passing day, I discover something that reveals your inadequacy to be hired as a videographer.
Well, it just.
When I hired you, you didn't know that you needed glasses.
Yep.
And now you're telling me that you're colourblind.
I also didn't know how to use a camera.
Yeah.
So it says more about your capability as a hiring manager than anything else.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
I didn't fake it. I was very upfront about not being able to use a camera.
Oh God. Well, because I'm strapped for time.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just we'll just go straight in.
Yes.
No dudes rock today.
Tom Pidcock's victory in the mountain biking.
Yeah, that was all right, wasn't it?
That was sick.
I love big sporting events like this.
Speaking of black holes in the tyres.
Speaking of kicking the tyres and finding something you weren't expecting.
Rachel Reeves in 9th place. Hoping this will see her defeating France to gold in the economy Olympics.
Rachel Reeves really shouldn't be doing clickbait either, should she? She shouldn't be doing clickbaity things in Parliament.
You're so thin-skinned. You're having a go at someone they got 150 upvotes in a subreddit.
Yeah, small time. It's just my insecurity, I guess.
There was only one. There's not been like thousands of complaints.
No. So fuck that guy. Austerity 2.0.
Is he banned from listening?
Yeah, he's banned from listening. He's not allowed to listen or watch. No.
We're gonna find your IP address and ban you from the YouTube channel.
I think their criticism it was heartfelt and sincere. It wasn't coming from a malicious place.
No, of course not.
And they're still welcome as part of our audience.
What was the criticism?
They said that it was clickbait to call her announcement yesterday Austerity 2.0, which, for people who aren't across the PoliticsJOE YouTube channel...
I think let's take it away from making about the criticism of us and their interpretation of what their economics of it actually is. Yes.
Well, but this is what I'm saying, because on the thumbnail we wrote Austerity 2.0, question mark.
Yep.
Does this constitute austerity, right? Because Rachel Reeves... Yesterday, I've a fascinating piece, I would say, of political theatre in Parliament, and I think that's the case for a number of reasons. I would just say as well, I think I would hesitantly say actually, I think it's one of the best bits of public speaking I've ever seen Rachel Reeves give. Her sense of anger was palpable, and also Jeremy Hunt was really pissy afterwards as well.
Yeah.
And he very rarely is like that.
Speaking of small time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it was. He had the aura of a Scotland fan after you've been knocked out of the group stages of another major tournament. is what he had. He was embittered. He was like, "I hope you enjoy your 400 seats, Labour."
It's hearing England fans claim not to care about Scotland and then singing about Scotland.
Yes,
that's me as Jeremy Hunt.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But the reason I say sort of political theatre is. That it was more of a political moment than an economic moment in a sense that we have known since Jeremy Hunt's last 2 fiscal events that he did price spending cuts into the next parliament so that he could facilitate tax cuts in the here and now. Anyone in sort of economic think tanks and economics journalists were literally saying, this is fantasy economics. This stuff is a fiction. This is just we're eliminating all of the fiscal headroom. We're saying that the sort of departmental budgets in the future are going to suffer real terms cuts, and in some cases actual cuts, when there's basically nothing left to give. Look at justice, look at education, look at healthcare. There aren't efficiency savings of the scale that he was pricing in to be found. This is a nonsense. It will never happen. Then during the general election campaign, tons of people were talking about this and pointing it out and saying it's not feasible. You had 2 competing fictions electorally on offer. One was the Labour parties, which said we will not raise taxes on working people. We don't need to raise taxes to facilitate this. And you had an even more fantasist fiction on offer from the Tories, who think not only will they not raise taxes, they're actually going to cut taxes in light of these gaps in the public finances. The IFS called it a conspiracy of silence. Plenty of other think tanks spoke about it as well. So this isn't new economic information, but what Rachel Reeves is trying to do with this statement is to gain control of the political narrative, to be able to say, as every single government, I think within living memory, if not before, that comes in goes, well, look, we knew it was bad, guys. We knew it was really, really bad. But fuck me, it's even worse.
Do you think there's a chance those 2 things are true? She's making the most of a political opportunity,
100%.
and also Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. No, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the economic inheritance for the Labour Party
is rosy.
Yeah, it's not great. and you know, whilst inflation is now back down at target, there was some pretty strong growth in the last quarter. Growth in 2023 was anemic. 2022, not great. This is the first parliament in which living standards were lower at the end of it than at the start. It's not good. GDP per capita growth has been appalling. The economic inheritance is not good. And don't get me wrong, there has actually been some stuff that Rachel Reeves has discovered that is unfunded. So about 6 billion quid for asylum, you know, in temporary accommodation, and the backlog that's been built up there, as far as we can tell. And actually, the IFS, again, who usually are pretty cynical about these things, are kind of saying that she has legitimate cause for concern to be crossed there. But there are other things. She said it herself. She told the FT in June, we have the OBR. Like, the government's books are open in that sense. She knew what she was inheriting. So yes, there are some things she didn't know about, but most of it she did. And as Jeremy Hunt said, she's been having meetings, as is right and proper, with the Perm Sec at the Treasury, the most senior official there, to talk about the public finances and what she would do. So this is why I say it's kind of political, because while she's making out like we've got in and it's appalling, it is bad, but it's not an unknown. What she's essentially doing, I think, well, it's not just me, well, this is sort of the consensus, right, is that she is preparing the ground for whatever comes in her budget, presumably tax rises of some kind, more spending cuts of the kind that we saw yesterday. For example, 10 million pensioners no longer receiving a winter fuel payment. I don't know, sounds pretty austerity-y to me.
Cuts to public spending.
Yeah, winter fuel payment's not going to be universal anymore. It's going to be means tested, right? That's pretty extensive. Cutting rail and road projects, not building 40 new hospitals, dressed up in a language of we're cutting waste in government.
It's the continuation of the personification of the economy as a household budget, which is a useless metaphor.
Yeah.
Because your average couple at the head of a household aren't investing in rail infrastructure for their house that hopefully will attract outside investment from the neighbours.
Yes.
Or things like that. You're not experiencing a massive population boom.
I actually have been to your house, so I can say this, but what I was going to say was,
I was like, no, yeah.
I've been to your family home.
Yes, you've been to my family home. And you saw the monorail?
Yes, yeah, and I also saw your independent central bank in the back garden. So clearly they're not the same.
You met the Paymaster General.
Yeah, your guilt market was flying. Yes, but that's the point, because there's rhetoric versus your actions, and the way that Rachel Reeves is talking, she is talking like George Osborne. In the way she's talking about waste, in the way she's talking about a household budget, difficult choices, difficult decisions, right? And I find it fascinating, the gap between the rhetoric and what Labour is doing in government. So I would say that address to the Commons, the language of it was fiscal conservatism. It was anti John Maynard Keynes. You know, Keynes is if we can do it, we can afford it, right? That money is essentially a creation of our society. We can do these things. And Rachel Reeves' refrain over and over again was, "We can't afford it. We're not going to do it." It's almost like a rejection. It's like she read Mark Fisher and was like, no, thank you. Capitalist realism, yes, actually, I love it. We don't need our imagination. Things cannot be better. Things are appalling. Sorry, tough choices. Bah, 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 bah. On the same day that they've reached a negotiated settlement with the junior doctors, and junior doctors are getting a 20% pay rise.
And other public sector workers.
Yeah, and other public sector workers, currently inflation-beating pay rise. 5.5% for the teachers, 6% I think for the armed forces. Like some significant pay rises happening, far more than the government was budgeting for. But this is really important. To do that is a political choice. She's choosing to do that. And so when you say, look, there's a 20 billion black hole, we're going to have to cut some of this stuff. It's like, yes, but you are also spending all this money to raise these people's wages. And that's what I mean when I say the gap between the rhetoric and the action I find is really, really interesting. Because when they're on broadcast, when they're on communication mode, they're speaking the language of Cameroon Tories, of fiscal conservatism, but their actions don't necessarily always match up to that. And
should they get more credit then? Should they get more credit for engaging, for doing the right thing and giving public sector workers pay rises so that the public services don't grind to a halt? They've made a political choice. Yeah, they have made a political choice, but is it as negative as we and other commentators are maybe presenting it as? They've made an evaluation to cut other things. And for example, if they decided to keep the winter fuel allowance, it'd be very easy to go like, fucking old people getting it again.
Yeah.
And teachers aren't getting a break.
Yeah, no, but this is the thing that I think is interesting about Keir Starmer's Labour government. I think that we should and we will judge them on their actions. And whilst the method and means of communication, like Rachel Reeves stood and made that statement, and it wasn't a big announcement about public sector pay, was it?
No, you're right.
It was about the black hole.
Mm-hmm.
They could have quite easily stood up there and be like, the Labour government believes in working people. Here's a half-hour spiel about how important it is that we pay doctors, nurses, teachers, people in the armed forces a fair wage for the following reasons.
It's interesting that this government, in particular, in direct opposition to the last one, doesn't have the media apparatus at its disposal. So they're needing to cater to get on the front page of the Daily Telegraph still, as in a speech praising the efforts of public sector workers. Might do quite well on the PoliticsJOE YouTube channel. But sadly...
Especially when we put austerity 2.0 question mark as the thumbnail.
Or we put Ian Hislop just in the headline for some reason. But sadly, not yet. There aren't 70 million people watching that speech. There is still the traditional dissemination of political speeches and huge political movements. So it's a different priority.
Yes. On your point about the media, it's about to turn, because I think you've had a period of 3 or 4 weeks where the right-wing press have basically been letting them bed in and be like, right, we'll see what this is about. That will change. They will turn their fire on the Labour Party sooner rather than later.
Sorry, but I mean, like, they'd be more interested in a story about what's happening with government finances than they would about the rights of workers. That's you're not going to like.
It's media management, I guess. In a sense.
You can see that image. You can't be like, Unions win on the front page of the Daily Mail.
Yes, but this again is what I'm talking about, right? It's the gap between the rhetoric, the communication, versus the actual action of the government. And look, I'm just going to say your point about the speech, right? I will put the most fucking clickbait headline on that if it means that several 100,000 people watch a half-hour-long speech by the Chancellor of the Exchequer about macroeconomic policy in Britain. I will do that. I don't care. Fuck them.
Fuck who? The audience?
That guy in the subreddit.
Other people have said worse things about us.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know why this is your goal
He
so
just
much.
fucking pissed in my cornflakes this morning. I don't know. Just annoyed me. I think it annoyed me because I saw him put it in the Reddit last night.
And you approved
I
it?
approved it.
Yeah.
And then when I came this morning, you said, "Have you seen that guy in the subreddit?" And I went and looked at it, and it had, it was like top of the thing.
If anyone else wants to try and piss off Oli today, it's going to be possible. If you want to be talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, rent free. And again, sort of talking about getting people back into work as well. That again, that's New Labour. That's Osborne, right? That's the language of benefit. I think she spoke, didn't she, about benefits fraud and how we're going to crack down on it. Again, which fine. Don't think it's the most pressing issue, to be honest with you. How do we feel about tax rises? Do you think what she's doing here? Because right, so if we accept this is a moment of political theatre and political rhetoric, with the intention of, as she said, this process of difficult choices. This is a beginning. It will continue in the budget. What do you think she is preparing us for? Is it tax rises? Is it public spending cuts? Is it borrowing? Is it all three of those things?
They might, I suppose, if you take the argument that Hunt's recent fiscal events were utterly irresponsible, it makes the most sense to reverse them, I suppose, as in national insurance might go up. Capital gains, I think, or a wealth tax is probably the most sensible and politically viable because they weren't ruling that out during the election.
By the way, the price of that national insurance cut, about 19 billion, would just that would sort this out, wouldn't it?
It's funny, just like the few things they were just like, Rwanda, what was the cost of Rwanda? Like billions of pounds, and nothing fucking happened. So we're not doing Rwanda anymore.
I think Rishi Sunak's
alternative A levels.
Yeah, that was several hundred million.
I don't really understand how that can be that expensive.
I don't either.
Was it a branding exercise?
Well, I guess you just go. In theory, that would be the cheaper way of doing it, but presumably there was like some difference in the curriculum and examination. You would assume.
Yeah, but imagine being like, well, I need my political legacy to be new A levels. In fact, so I'm prepared to spend £500 million on that.
Yeah, I think he would have liked to have been the guy that banned smoking. But
yes, but
Starmer's
unlucky.
Starmer's going to be that guy.
He's going to be chief narc.
Yeah, absolute nonsense policy, that one. Yeah, so you're right to mention, and this is going to be an interesting political problem for them, because over the course of the election campaign, they had to refine the language, didn't they? Because initially they said, we will not raise taxes for working people. That's why Labour ministers are now being asked, can you define a working person? What do you mean by that? Presumably it's someone who earns an income from their labour.
Yeah.
They had to refine that, didn't they, to no rise in income tax, VAT, or national insurance. But if you increase council tax, if you increase capital gains, stamp duty, corporation tax, that will affect people. That will affect working people, right? So they've made a bit of a rod for their own back with that, which I think is why they changed the communication of it. But I think there's inheritance tax, be a good one. Mm-hmm. There's so much scope to improve and to take other people's money.
They can be imagined that they can take other people's money.
That's what tax is.
For God's sake, right? Do you oppose tax?
No, I'm saying there's so many opportunities. Let's take them.
Okay. Well, you said it in quite a negative way.
Yeah.
So I think you should be more sensitive.
I'm operating on a different plane to you right now.
Yeah, you're just being contrarian.
so many different levels.
You're just being oppositional for the sake of it.
Yes. What, me?
I think so.
No. Never.
I'm actually on the side.
I've never done that.
I'm on the side of the Redditor now. And curse you for making.
You can join him in the subreddit if you want. Off the air. You can be reduced to being a guy in the subreddit if you want.
I would never. I would leave.
Imagine if you left the company, but we're just posting in the subreddit. Like me, Laura, Sean, Ava being like, he's fucking written something in the subreddit again.
Unmodding you. Only I've got control. I think
Mod wars.
I think that would be my route out. That's why you can't touch me. Because I think I'm the admin of
Super
the
admin.
subreddit.
Super admin. Yeah, they should raise taxes. They should borrow to invest as well.
They should. We were talking about this yesterday. What's the point of HS2 if it only goes to Old Oak Common?
Well, no, yeah, it should go into central London.
No.
So
It's not the obvious thing in the world.
It should just be in Birmingham. It doesn't go anywhere.
It's a monorail.
Yeah.
Well, Birmingham can't afford that.
It should connect to the monorail at Ed's house. It goes from Birmingham to Glasgow and back. No, but it should go to Glasgow. It should go to Edinburgh. It should go to Leeds. It should go to Manchester.
Yep.
I think they'll bring it back.
Do you think so?
I'm just going out on a fucking limb and saying that now. I think they'll bring it back. I think they need infrastructure projects. I think HS2 is absolutely fundamental to it. And yes, it's been an absolute gravy train for every contractor involved. Yes, because we bowed to the NIMBYs and agreed to this obscene idea of building an entire high-speed rail line that has like concrete insulation so it doesn't spoil the views and has a bit of noise on the countryside. All of that stuff. Yeah. Yes, it's all true. Yes, it costs a ridiculous amount of money. Yes, it's been fucked up even more by the Tories planning it and then hacking limbs off it. Just eat it. Just eat it. Build it. Get it done.
You've seen that with the Elizabeth line. Not to be incredibly London-centric, but that was cost billions of pounds.
It did.
And it's been a boon of about £40 billion to the economy.
Yeah, I think it is the most used rail line in the country.
I think it was
Josh was telling me, go on.
I think it was responsible for 1/7 of railway journeys.
It's a
in
sixth.
the country.
Yeah, Josh told me it's a sixth of every rail journey in the UK happens on the Elizabeth line.
Which is absolutely insane. And we were like, no more.
Yeah.
Done. Birmingham, Old Oak Common, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so infuriating. You look at, there's a really good map that shows high-speed rail construction in the UK and Spain since 1990.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Spain are on about 3,000 miles now. And we've got.
They have a siesta every day and they achieved that.
I know.
We do a 9 to 5 and we've done fucking nothing. Got nothing to show for it.
Where's your high-speed rail line? Goes around the central bank in my back garden.
I've been siphoning off money from HS2 for my own project.
But I think the only bit we've successfully done is from London to the Eurostar. It's to the Channel Tunnel.
Yep.
That's all we've got in that period of time.
Yep.
It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing.
Yes. What a...
No new reservoirs built. Build the data centres. Build the studios. Build all of it.
The studio?
Yeah, film studios.
Oh, I meant for us.
I actually think the studio is quite good. I mean, yes, okay, sometimes you can hear like the toilet pipes or if a car alarm goes off outside and the aircon. But it's all right, isn't it? It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's fine.
We've done multi-million view podcast in front of a black curtain.
Absolutely.
Just goes to show. All you need is a table and an Ed Campbell.
Oh, and the suckers will fucking... Yum. What's been your favourite part of the Olympics so far?
Ooh. Having really contrived discourse with everyone I know about why the male and female gymnasts have to wear different clothes.
Yep.
I like to say, I just don't get it. Why do the women have to wear latex leotards? Like, what's that about? Why can't they wear leggings like the men?
Absolutely. Instead of saying women's rugby sevens, I just call it rugby sevens.
Good to see GB doing well. And Dupont, didn't he, won?
Yes, that was sick. I think that was actually my favourite.
There was an American skateboarder yesterday who just was drippy as hell. He looked great. He had like a navy baseball cap with the American flag on it, and then like a bowling shirt and shorts. And I thought he looked sick, but was like, oh well, if that's just the skater wear, no big deal. But then another American went afterwards, completely different outfit.
Yeah.
So it was clear that the guy before was dripped out.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do you know what the issue with this skateboarding at the Olympics is?
What?
It's not the mega ramp from the X Games. That's the true test.
That's what it should be.
That's the true test of skateboarding.
Yeah. They should do that.
Like, you could teach most people to do like an ollie.
Do you remember watching that when you were like a teenager?
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Unreal. There was a TV channel for extreme sports.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Throwback.
Bring back satellite television.
Now it's just like highlight reels on TikTok.
Or on YouTube. You can just go. You could actually watch hours and hours of X Games on YouTube. I'm pretty sure.
I know what I'm doing with the rest of my day.
You could watch WrestleMania as well, or a Royal Rumble.
I've never got into wrestling.
Neither did I really, but with my old flatmates, Harry was massively into wrestling as a child, and his girlfriend at the time revealed that she had never watched the Royal Rumble, so we sat and watched one for half an hour.
Right.
And then you could see her getting the ick as someone's entrance music came on. Harry went, "Oh my God, it's Edge!" And then we watched half an hour of a Royal Rumble. Edge won from like 2005.
They're still together?
No. I think it's separate.
They separated.
No, I think it was a separate issue. The two events were like 18 months apart.
Right. It was a conscious uncoupling.
It was like death by a thousand cuts of him just making her watch WrestleMania.
It's kind of lame.
Wrestling?
Yeah.
There are lots of things though
Name one.
that are lame.
Name something lamer than wrestling.
that you like, or in general.
Yeah, make it something that I like so that there's skin in the game and I can...
Combat sports?
No. Are you serious?
No, not really. You like...
Pretending to do a combat sport versus actual combat sport.
Okay, well...
Pretending is lamer.
You love talking about kayfabe
No,
in
that's Ava.
politics. You like it as well.
I tolerate it.
I think I heard it from you first. You used to always say like politics is wrestling when you were in your like Dominic Cummings mood, which was most.
He did say that,
which was most of 2021. Politics is wrestling. I think it's like as a bit of theatre. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? Do you not like plays? Do you not
Stop.
Do you not like fiction?
Stop.
Where's the?
I do like fiction. I do like plays.
Do you like plays? Do you like films?
Yes.
Do you like musicals?
No.
See, I think there's a... Why don't you like musicals?
It breaks the illusion.
How?
Like, I'm watching... what's that good-looking guy called Ryan?
Gosling.
Yes. La La Land.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, I mean...
He's like...
Musical films...
He's in a car or something.
I mean, like in a theatre.
And then somehow everyone on the highway gets out of their car and starts dancing on the roof. It's nonsense.
Okay.
No one does that.
Okay, but like, what about...
It's not real.
One
exception to the rule. Blues Brothers.
Okay. Do you like science fiction films?
Yes.
But nobody has a lightsaber in real life. Nobody has the Force.
Yeah, but... Seriously?
I don't know.
Okay, what themes does WrestleMania explore? What do we learn about the human condition from Royal Rumble? Other than, like, you can take a load of steroids and jump off the roof of a cage and survive.
Oh, sorry, that sounds so lame. Doesn't that sound sick? I don't even like wrestling. I just don't think I don't think it's fair to call it lame to people who enjoy it.
I do. State the positive
But you're
case
such
for
a
it.
dude rock guy. And
Dudes do rock.
But what's more dudes rocking than like
two men actually
jacked
fighting?
roid heads?
Actually fighting.
Jumping, yeah, but
they should actually fight.
They should actually fight.
Yes. Weekend just gone. UFC in Manchester. Tom Aspinall, interim champ, fucking banged out Curtis Blades. Unreal. I watched that all day long. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Molly McCann, of PoliticsJOE fame, Meatball Molly, took an absolute beating. Stayed in there all 3 rounds. She actually got kicked straight in the fanny as well.
I saw clip of
It was
that,
bad.
actually. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but she got back up again, didn't she? And then continued to get beat. Bless her. I loved it,
I don't think it's a case of either or.
and I like her.
I think you can appreciate wrestling as like fun.
But lame. Like Morris dancing.
I think you're just a hater.
No, like if I'm...
You learned a phrase.
If I find myself in rural England and I see some Morris dancers, I go, yay! In my head I'm going, you fucking losers. That's appalling.
So you're being disingenuous as well.
What?
You're being rude.
I'm being polite. No, I'm being polite.
It's
the opposite of being rude. I'm being polite.
You're lying.
Sorry, I should walk over. Boo! You guys suck. What?
You learned a phrase yesterday from Sean. Don't yuck other people's yums.
Yes, I did learn that from Sean yesterday. Yeah,
And I'd like you to start using that now.
No, look. If you want a Morris dance,
Right.
in the privacy of your own home, be my guest. If you want to take all the cushions off the sofa and put them on the floor and go, "Ah!" Have at it, pal. You're a fucking loser.
I'm on your side, audience.
Do you think the audience like wrestling?
Yes. I don't think all of them do.
It is incredibly popular.
You think the people who like us are cool?
Yes.
What do you think the audience is like? Like going to boiler rooms?
Meat and 2 veg. 2 up, 2 down. Paint by numbers, you know.
Nah,
Standard guys.
no chance. I think they're the wrestling heads. I mean that in a complimentary way. He's calling you lame.
No, because I don't think they're wrestling heads. You think they're wrestling heads and that's cool. I think they're cool
I think it's cool
because they're not
I think
wrestling
it's cool
heads.
for people to have interests.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Just not ones that you disagree with, that you don't like.
Most things, tolerant of. Happy for you. Glad you've got your yum yum time. Right? I love a yum yum. I love to buy 4 from Greg's.
As you may not be.
Watching 2 grown men pretend to fight each other. No.
The Hards disagree.
Why?
Because I think it's fine. I don't think... I think it's...
No, it is fine.
It's entertainment.
It's fine.
Entertainment.
It's fine.
People love it. People go nuts.
That's what's lame about it. That's what's lame about it. Oh my god, if Edge is here! Ah! It's been planned for months that Edge was going to be there. What were you expecting? Edge wasn't going to... Of course Edge was going to fucking be there. It's WrestleMania.
Do you think it's lame when Donald Trump goes into WWE and is somehow a character?
Yeah. And it's also lame when he goes to the UFC and sits next to Dana White.
Do you think it's lame when Nigel Farage goes to the boxing?
Yeah. Stay away.
Stay away.
Yeah.
Do you think we spent more time talking about this than the economy?
I'm actually coming up. I've got a minute left before I have to go.
You got who's going to win the Tory leadership contest?
Ooh.
In 60 seconds. You know when like BBC.
Are you going to come in? Are you going to come in and do the Tory leadership contest? You can do. Yeah. Okay. So that gives us 1 more minute of nonsense. Then you can do Tory leadership with Laura.
Oh, no, I'd like, you know, in the BBC News, were like, on Instagram, it's like, here's something in a minute. And you're like, well, yeah, it's a reel. It's going to be a short amount of time, by definition. You need to make it more interesting than that. In a minute, who's going to win the Tory leadership contest?
Not Suella Braverman.
Yes, by definition.
It was less than a minute, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, okay.
Throw some insight there for the audience.
That's what they come here for, to be insulted. Actually, they do. We do insult them quite a lot.
We should get a camera on a cuck chair that's just representative. That no one sat in it.
Yeah.
But we cut to it like that's the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Figuratively sat there.
And we can AI it so if you're viewing it, you can see your partner being railed, like in the image. For an authentic experience.
Sorry, is this part of the PoliticsJOE editorial offering?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I think we've probably got the power to do it. Someone like strays onto it, like a new viewer. It's like, oh my god! You know,
that'd be quite fun though if we with like Oculus or another augmented reality headset.
Yeah.
It could be like you're sat here talking to us.
Yeah, and your partner's just beyond us.
Well, that's me.
That's you.
I've got a meeting to go to, Ed.
On that note,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a hard switch now, isn't it, from the fiscal black hole to the Tory leadership contest? Well, I bid you adieu.
Well done. And Laura's coming in now, listeners and viewers. Yay! Smaller audience now that you're here. One person down. How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Did you enjoy that?
I did enjoy that.
Taking live notes.
I enjoyed your defense of wrestling.
What's your take?
I agree with you. Don't yuck other people's yums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to be nice.
Yeah, I like to see people just enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I think also probably everyone has some lame stuff that they like.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What's the lame thing that you like?
Well, I was speaking up for musicals. I like musicals a lot. So do you, to be fair.
Yeah, we had this conversation before.
Oh, Laura and I just talked about musicals. Speaking of, pageantry, Tory leadership contest.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we feeling? Who are we excited for?
Should we go through who is actually in the running? Who are the 6 that have
I
declared
will wager that they know that.
Really?
Yes. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, the audience. We should say their names. But I don't think we need to say who they are.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Tom Tugendhat,
Tom Tugendhat.
Mel Stride, James Cleverly, Kemi Badenoch, Robert Jenrick, and Priti Patel.
So sick. That's the 6 dynamite people who are going to steer the Conservative Party over the next 4.5 years into a winning. One of them is the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Really? Do you think so?
No, I don't actually. I kind of have a feeling they might cycle through a few leaders, especially because they're so vicious.
Yeah.
Like the Conservative Party are still, although it's a much smaller group, they're still a vicious bunch. And considering how they treated the last leaders, and they will need fewer people fewer letters of no confidence in the leader to have them deposed from the 1922 committee.
It's interesting because I wonder how much faith current MPs, Conservative MPs, have in the membership to select the next leader. I mean, if you were an anti-Liz Truss guy sitting in Parliament, you'd be quite nervous about who the membership are going to elect.
I know you would be. So typically, the conventional wisdom about the Conservative leadership elections is that it will be one lefty and one righty, and the righty will win. So that you'd be looking at presumably Tom Tugendhat going through and losing to Badenoch or Robert Jenrick or Priti Patel.
Yeah.
That is the conventional wisdom. Obviously, the Conservative Party membership is much more right wing in general.
Yeah.
than the general public.
I think it's interesting because we were looking at some stats on who the Conservative Party membership actually were yesterday, and over half of the membership are over 50 years old, mainly male, and 80% belong to the highest social class income group as well. So they're not who they pick isn't necessarily who the general population would pick in an election to be leader. I mean, you've met quite a lot of the Tory membership. Yeah. What do you make of them?
What do I make of them? I think at the moment they're absolutely... This is largely based on when we went to the National Conservative Conference a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I think they're absolutely furious at the Parliamentary Conservative Party for deposing Liz Truss still. Liz Truss was their pick. The Conservative MPs put her through. They selected her to be one of the final 2, so that gave some semblance of we see Liz Truss as an acceptable option. They legitimised her, and then they delegitimised her. They completely dethroned her. So I think they're absolutely furious about that. They want to take back. I think they're still smarting from this wound. I don't think they will be terribly interested in the next election. The next election is 5 years away. I think they are interested in some serious bloodletting, in some serious, because from speaking to people at the event, they seemed to think that they didn't win the election because they weren't right-wing enough. And from that wing of the Conservative Party, the narrative seemed to be... So they were saying, if you take Reform voters as votes for general conservatism, small c conservatism, then conservatism won the election. I don't think it's quite as simple as that. I don't think if reform didn't exist, all those voters would automatically vote for the Conservatives. I think a lot of them would vote for Labour.
Yeah.
So there is this sense of, I think someone like Kemi Badenoch, who will be telling these people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Did you see Robert Jenrick's video this morning?
I didn't know. What was it?
It was just like his campaign launch, and it was quite a smartly edited 4 or 5 minute video about what he hopes to achieve. And there's also quite a funny bit that was like, there's quite an interesting contrast between like the rising, inspirational, cheery music to a certain extent, and versus he was like, I want to build more prisons and lock more people up.
Yeah.
Which I think is a rosy thing if you're a Conservative member, perhaps.
I think Robert Jenrick is quite interesting as well, because maybe a few years ago he would have been seen as the more centre-right candidate, but kind of took quite a hard pivot towards being, you know, this like tough on immigration stance. I think he resigned as immigration minister last December because he wanted Rishi Sunak to take a tougher line on immigration, which might play well. And I think it would actually play well for any of these candidates to like be slightly disassociated from Rishi Sunak, like you were saying, which bodes quite well for Priti Patel.
Yes, I wonder if Priti Patel has been seen as too much of like yesterday's woman. I wonder if she's been, because you mainly associate her with Boris Johnson. Actually, no, I actually wonder. So, regardless of her rhetoric on immigration went up so much under Patel's tenure as Home Secretary. That's all they'll beat her with. Regardless of what she says, she oversaw just massive amounts of legal migration, which they're so vehemently opposed to, and also. Yeah, I think like the rhetoric will work, and if Jenrick took a principled resignation after painting over a children's mural in a processing centre, who do you think's got the best chance? Do you think?
I genuinely thought you were going to ask me who was the brat candidate there.
Yeah, which of these candidates take the most cocaine? Do you think?
I think who has the best chance. I think James Cleverly might be the more centrist pick. And I think that I'm going to say Priti Patel over Kemi Badenoch is going to be the right wing pick.
You think Priti Patel over Kemi Badenoch? And then you think Cleverly would win them?
Yes. That's what I'll put what do you think?
I would think Tom Tugendhat would be the choice of the left, and I would think Kemi Badenoch would beat him in the final two, I think. It's interesting that Tom Tugendhat is like a really one nation Tory, but is making overtures to the right by being like, well, we'd have to examine our relationship with the ECHR.
Yeah.
Which I think would put off a lot of it's interesting. I was listening to a rival podcast last night. I was listening to the newsagents last night, and Lord Patton was on it. His name's Chris Patton, I think.
Yeah, I was.
You also.
I also listened to it. Yeah.
But he was like he was absolutely disgusted with Tom Tugendhat for appealing to for making that sort of rhetoric, and I think it's important to remember that the Conservative Party membership, although they are more right wing in general, they're not like a monolith. They're not all like frothing at the mouths. Like I know we like to joke about people who live in hamlets who want to own guns, but they're not all like that. There is some liberal Conservatives who joined under David Cameron. They are quite socially liberal, resent this kind of anti-immigration, anti-LGBT rhetoric that's become commonplace, and so they will need to cater to those people as well.
It's interesting, like listening to him speak, just how much the Conservative Party has changed in quite a small amount of time. Like there seems to have been like a right-wing kind of capture of the party, but then I wonder if there's a lot of Conservative voters like him and who think like him and who have been quite who are quite unhappy with the direction the party's heading in, but they aren't necessarily members, so won't necessarily be voting. Like I feel like there is quite a difference between your average Conservative voter and then your average Conservative member, and ultimately they'll be deciding who is the next leader in November.
They did such a good job last time.
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's interesting. This is more about the Conservative Party in general, but it's interesting from the outside seeing the kind of social conventions at play in that they all wear suits. They all wear, regardless of how old you are, you go to a Conservative Party event and you wear a suit. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Tom Jones, but I might be crediting him with something that he didn't say, especially given how smartly he dresses. But he kind of made the point that like young Tories should look like young people. Because it is quite like alienating to like if you see like a child in a suit, like a 18-year-old in a fancy like I don't know like a velour jacket, like a red smoking jacket and like grey trousers, you are like If you want to make the Conservative Party appealing to young people, I do think they need to get over this kind of culture thing. Because I think people join the Conservative Party if you agree with your politics, and then they join in, and then it's like a social pressure to say, oh, we all wear suits. So I think if they want to appeal to young people, it does sound so so irrelevant or so like unsubstantial that thing. But if you see someone wearing something that you don't agree, if you can't see yourself in that environment, that is a real obstacle. Exactly,
it has to feel like an accessible and like welcoming almost place.
What's been your best bit of the Olympics so far?
Best bit of the Olympics. I enjoyed watching the men's skateboarding yesterday.
That was sick.
Yeah.
Do you also think it would be improved by the X Games mega ramp?
I agree. I liked, and we were talking about what music you think they were listening to.
Oh yeah, they have AirPods in, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
That is mad.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
Oh, probably just like brain rot.
Do you remember like the Tony Hawk like pro skate games?
Yeah. Oh,
I like to think they're listening to the soundtrack.
So or just like 182. Yeah, that'd be sick. Should we leave it there?
Yeah.
Thank you for your wonderful cameo. Thank you to our live studio audience for being here. Thank you everyone for listening. Can you please remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, rate us 5 stars on whatever audio platform you're listening to. Maybe tell a friend about us, but then warn them as well. It's not going to be. I had a conversation with someone I know recently who said, she was like, I listened to your podcast during the election. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And she said, I thought there would be some analysis of the Labour manifesto in the subject, in the one titled Labour manifesto. And it just never occurred to me that people would be like listing by subject matter.
Yeah.
So that's something that we might
consider. We should consider that.
We should consider that. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you guys.